How to Build a Team, Part 2. Hi, this is Jim Gibson with Business Sense Podcast. Thank you for joining me today. And this is a continuation from Part 1, where we talked about how to build a team. And I used ideas such as holding people accountable, especially for good things that they do. And now we're going to continue that discussion with some new ideas, some new thoughts about team building. You know, I've seen some of these big corporations, and they have team building events, where someone stands on a table and closes their eyes and falls backwards, and the team's supposed to catch them as they fall. Or they go on these strange retreats where, they're climbing mountains and having picnics on top of the mountain. Well, some of these things are okay. It's just the nature of corporations today. It's the nature of business and all, and you get to know your coworkers better and things like that. But in reality, that's not how you build a team. How you build a team is what we discussed in the last podcast, and that was holding people accountable for standards. And when you find someone doing something really well, then you let them know, and you let them know in public, and you let everyone else know that they did a fantastic job and that you appreciate them. You go overboard. And then, of course, those who are not pulling their own, maybe they're in the wrong area, maybe they're in the wrong business, maybe they're in the wrong trade. Well, then you have to hold them accountable also. And you think sometimes, you can't be lazy about this. So you think sometimes, well, no one really knows how bad this person is. And I'll tell you what, when you get a group of people together, they know who the performers are, and they know who the non-performers are. And if you don't recognize the performers, but you spend all your time with the non-performers, then you're not going to have a team. They're not going to appreciate it. But if you recognize people who are doing their job and doing a good job, not the student of the week nonsense stuff where everybody made student of the week. I mean, honestly, working with your team as a group and realizing those who are doing a great job, whose heart's in the work, who really know what they're doing, putting out the extra effort, recognizing those people. And everybody knows who they are. Just like they know the other people that are bums, are not doing their job. And I discussed in the last one where I said, I was spending too much time with people who weren't interested in doing their job, weren't interested in going the extra mile. And I reversed that. I spent more time with those who were interested in doing a better job, who wanted to get promoted, who wanted the raise, who wanted the attention, that they took pride in their job. They're not going to take pride in the job if you don't take pride in what they're doing. And they know the difference. The next thing you have to have standards. I mean, you have to have goals and standards. You have to have something that's actually you got to stretch for to achieve if you want to build a team. You can't have stupid stuff where people just go to work and pretty much just drag around with their eyes looking at their shoes and not really doing anything. You actually have to have measurable goals and standards that everybody knows. And you have to support those goals and those standards. And when you reach them, you have to recognize the people who helped you to reach them. Don't you take credit if you're the boss. If you're the manager or if you're the owner, give the credit to the people who are actually producing the work. And the big killer, this is the big killer I've seen over and over again. I've seen this in the Marine Corps. And that is to show partiality to people, not based on their performance, not based on merit, things that they have earned, but because you like them, or because they're your friend, or because you're related to them. I remember I worked in a communications center. That was my first job in the Marine Corps. And I had about 12 Marines. And I worked for a captain. I was a second lieutenant at the time. And it was a data center that was underneath the ground. And it was a classified data center where we could handle all sorts of highly classified information. And it wasn't underground to hide it from people. It was underground because it was the basement. No one else wanted to work there. But it was a pretty significant, important job. We had a mainframe at the time, and we had a lot of information we had to sort through and make sure it got to the right place. But of the 12 individuals that worked for me in my first unit as I was managing this data center and mainframe, one of them was a female Marine, and she was good friends with the captain. She could, anytime she walked past the captain's office, he would call her in, and she would come in and sit down and chit-chat with the captain, and they would be laughing and carrying on and everything else. And I don't want to accuse them of an inappropriate relationship, but I don't know. I just know that when I had to talk to the captain, I had to make an appointment, and I had to stand at ease in front of his desk, sometimes at attention. And there was no friendly chit-chat. There was no chance of ever sitting in that chair next to the desk and having a discussion about life. That wasn't going to happen. But she could walk in there anytime she wanted, and that caused such hate and discontent in my 12-man team, because a lot of times she would ask for time off and get it from the captain, and the other 11 people had to work extra hard to make up for the one person that was always absent. And that is a team wrecker. So if you want to be a manager, don't show personal preference to anybody. No relatives, no friends, or anything else. Everyone is responsible and pulls their own. I remember also I had a job right after I got out of the Marine Corps. It didn't last very long. I was director of financial services for a big university. And there was a problem. And the problem is one of the people who worked for me was good friends with my boss. They were neighbors. And they would drive in together. And he kind of liked her. And he treated her special. And all she did was complain about me over and over and over again. And I had to go down and explain everything I did. And he never corrected her and said, you have a special relationship with me, so you should not take advantage of that. He was not professional. Neither of those bosses were professional. And both times that was a team killer. So always treat people professionally. Always treat them like they deserve to be treated as professionals. These are not your friends. These are professionals that you work with. And if you follow leadership principles that we'll talk about from time to time, you treat everybody with respect. Those who you treated differently are going to be treated differently based on merit only. That's it. And that's what they deserve, to be treated differently if they show the extra work and the time they're putting into it. You can have all those retreats if you want. People fall back off the table with their arms across their, chests or shoulders or whatever, and they hope their friends and coworkers catch them and all. And it's kind of cool stuff. And every once in a while, you got to have barbecues and dinners or, picnics or things like that. But if you really want to build a team, here's the key: hold people accountable, good and bad, and make sure that you emphasize the good. Set high standards. And once you set high standards, supervise. Make sure everybody in the team knows exactly what's expected of them. And if you know someone is not carrying their weight, everybody in the team knows that. And that's going to divide the team instantly. So don't allow that to happen. Be a professional and treat people in a professional manner, expecting them to act like professionals also. Doesn't mean you can't be friendly, smile, things like that, how's the family. But it also means you keep it at a professional level. Thank you for listening to this short podcast. I wanted to make sure that I discussed some of those things that we discussed in the last podcast. Make sure I made sure that they were clear. Thank you for listening to this podcast. This is Jim Gibson, Business Sense Podcast, and you have a great day.